But I know obviously people who've played probably football, basketball, and they have the same story. Yeah, so there's this conversation I ran into on X. And yeah, like I said, so they're talking about post-play depression it is something that remains fully ignored in rugby. This is by a guy called Sophisticated Fruit. Yeah, it's a very interesting thread. Yeah, so he says, nataka tu tuichambue real quick. Yeah, because I feel like it's of importance. And it's in a sport that barely pays, subjects athletes to high-intensity environments week in and out. Post-play depression is a silent ticking time bomb within the rugby fraternity. Yeah, so he says every week a player trains 2 to 4 days, goes into some hard contact at the end of it, and what comes after, not recovery or a mental assessment of the game, sherehe lazima ishike. A quick fling hapa na pale, followed by a hangover heavy Sunday alongside an aching body. Yeah, and that's usually the situation for most rugby players, because a lot of the clubs that you see over here don't really pay players even allowances, right? And so what happens is, obviously, due to the love of the game, these guys are going to show up on Saturday, game day, right? In fact, forget even about Sato only. Most teams have like 3 training days a week, and then, of course, Sato. So guys are going to be consistent. They're going to use their monies, but regardless of the fact that they're probably not going to be paid allowances, yeah, people turn up and they're still going to go for sherehe. Do you know how tiresome that is? Yeah. So the injuries that you have, right? You're fatigued. You're probably not well fed. Yeah. And then you go out, social. Can you imagine how it's going to feel the following day? Right? So to me, the commitment to playing sports, not just rugby, week in and out for many Kenyans, and still turn up and have a good time with friends and family is amazing. Yeah, but I feel like our sports teams out there really need to start taking care of folks. Yeah, it's not surprising when you part of guys at the Dunda Bana with crazy injuries, and I'm just like, what? Bro, Kwani, your club can't even sort you out, right? Now, another one, another point from this guy, the Sophisticated Fruit, Alisama, for most, this is the cycle year in and out. For the bulk of the year, the rugby becomes an outlet to the stress that daily life brings. Yeah, so we're talking work, school, hustle, etc. And for those who push the envelope over a decade, it becomes a lifestyle. Yeah. So he goes ahead and also says, the same most, quote unquote, do what they do without pay. But hey, nobody will deny you a shot. And if the field play makes you stand out, be sure to have someone ready to have a toast to you. Now, don't get me wrong. I am not against the sherehe culture. In fact, I'm for it. I like how he puts it. You see, let me talk for rugby players. Most guys, most rugby players after a game, I mean, you just want to have fun with your friends over, at the Dunda. But really, in fact, one of the reasons most people like to play sports is because it builds character. And it's also a way to let out that very sad energy. Maybe you're going through a lot in life, right? You can't get a job. Yeah. Maybe there's issues in the family. Yeah. Maybe you're struggling with poverty or sick parents. Mashida ni mingi out there. And so what people do, just like I did, by the way, is you let loose at the field. Yeah, there is nothing as amazing as hanging out with a bunch of friends. Yeah, whether you're a lady, yeah, your teammates, guys, yeah, who are gonna literally hold your hand. Yeah, and if they notice you're down, yeah, they're gonna tell you to put your head up and remind you that you're in this with them. And by the way, the one thing I like about rugby communities is how people end up being friends for years, right? They come through for you. And sometimes, let me tell you, this friendship doesn't even have to have a monetary sense to it. But just the fact that you have a bunch of brothers out there, you have friends that you can call for nyama, yeah? When you're in hospital, you know very well that they're going to come through for you, yeah? Whether it's a wedding, a funeral, these guys are your friends. Like, you remember whatever happened to Sydney, yeah, over this past weekend. Sydney in Uganda, by the way, if you don't know about him, yeah. So they just played. They came to Nairobi over here. He plays for Standard Stambik Black Pirates. So they came to Nairobi and they versed Kabras. Kabras beat them. It was a very good game though. Yeah. And then when he went to Uganda, 2 days after, we're skiing at he was killed by a mob. But guess what? The way his teammates actually came through for his family, for his little family, because I know he had a little son, yeah? The way they came through, the way they made a lot of noise on social media. Apparently, many folks have been arrested due to that very unfortunate situation that happened in Kampala. Yeah, that's what it's about. Knowing very well that your brothers are always going to come through for you, or your sisters, right? And then now you're going to grow up being a stand-up guy or lady, right? Sports actually builds character, especially contact sports. So I like this conversation. So this guy, and if you're listen, don't quit sports. If you're playing sports, yeah, and maybe you're also in school and please maintain that sports thing that you're doing. Whatever sport it is, even if it's swimming, yeah, just do it because it's going to help you build character. You're going to be a solid guy. You're going to learn how to work with a team. Yeah, you'll understand group dynamics. You'll understand how to be competitive. Yeah, you'll understand how to take losses positively, right? Now, another thing, this guy says, now he's addressing the whole idea, or not an idea, he's addressing this thing for the end of your sporting career. Yeah, so he talks about the injury that took you out of the game, the frustration of not making the first team as a younger and stronger teammate takes the spot, and now one has to make the decision to hang the boots. It happens. It's just how sports works. Let me tell you my own story, bro. Yeah, so that time I was playing rugby. I was in school. I never had a job. And rugby is a very expensive sport, yeah? Obviously, you have to have a good diet. You need to have your supplements going on. And then you need to have access to a really, really legit gym, right? So, for most guys who have sacrificed a lot, yeah, they've used their hard-earned money, savings, they're hustling on their parents to pay for them, at least to, just to logistics, transport for going to the field and mambo ya gym, yeah? So, can you imagine, with all the sacrifices that you've had to make to go to the team, to the field, consistently you get, week in, week out, yeah, even with the injuries, hata kama hauna access to insurance. And then, God forbid you get an injury. Do you know how bad that feels? Yeah? Most guys by there that I've seen who've gotten an injury take forever to come back. The rehabilitation process is so expensive, right? Most people lose sight and then they just quit rugby, wanna hang boots, yani all in all, anasema tu, you know what, acha tu nipate, nitafute job, start a family, and move on with my life. History rugby mekata. Yeah? Other people, let me tell you, some folks out here, they're thinking, this guy, by the way, he knows he has so much talent. Yeah, high school, he got all the compliments, and he was the star, he was the hero of their school. And now he sees himself becoming Colin Sinjera. He literally sees himself achieving a lot more like Colin Sinjera. And Kolo let me tell you, Kolo is one of those very successful rugby stories that we've ever seen in our country. And I hope there's going to be more to come. But Collins's levels are impeccable. I don't even think we're going to have any rugby player right now in this era who's going to get to those levels. Maybe in future. Yeah? I mean, right now he's a very successful influencer. Yeah? He's constantly getting gigs. His social media is looking good, and I'm sure he's getting paid off his socials. Yeah, I think he's also a corporate, right? So that's good stuff. And so many young guys see themselves achieving a lot more like Collins. But that's not your life is life. Life be lifing. When you get your injury, when you sing, some young guy, bana, bro, ametoka team 2. You guys, this guy is kujang with so much energy. He's got you know how kids these days have like very impressive physiques. Yeah? Bana, this kid, yani, bro, he's from Kakamega. Hey. Lord, Zigwembes are huge. He's like 18 years old. When the coach just hears that this dude is like 6'3", he's so masculine, he's young, he's talented. Let me tell you, when hizo injuries zako, hizo madreams zako za kukua, hamfrika yange hama kolo. Broski, you get, they move on from you so fast. Yeah, always, as is in any other sport out there. They're going to get the young guys. So imagine, bana, bro, you don't have a job. You're probably not going to school. Yeah. Your relationship with the parents now is so broken because they don't like this idea of you going for rugby, playing rugby because you're constantly getting the injuries. And to make it worse, there's some kid who's now taking your spot. Do you know how bad that feels, you guy? Yeah? Do you know how crazy that feels? Now you're thinking, what's any hang boots, manze? That's why I'm not... There's another story I also checked it how apparently some rugby players, bana, you guys now they end up marrying these wazungus. Guys, wife eats some... Listen, it's not a problem wifing a mzungu, babe. Yeah? But I know the thinking. Yeah? Some guys are like, you know what, Kev? You have to get them lami huku nje. Niende majuu manze. So I know many friends of mine, obviously now they're not in the country. And that's good for them. I hope now, you know, they have peace of mind. Because it's very stressful, yeah, knowing very well that this rugby, this very intense sport, yeah, imekupatia pressure, manze. Yani, bro, your body is so beat. You're thinking about the Kenyan economy and how it's dilapidated. You want to start a family. You don't even know how you're going to make sense of your career. You don't know how you're going to monetize your brand. You're basically not seeing any light at the end of the tunnel, right? So it's very sad. Many rugby players, even retired rugby players till today, bro, they're actually going through a lot of depression. Yeah? And then now, let's talk about post-retirement. Sumehang boots. Yeah, life has made you, you know, due to life, whatever. Now you're thinking, let me look for some money. You put a gig up, I'm going to work at a job. I've gotten a simple contract over here. You have hopes. It's not making sense. You're still missing the good old days when you were such a fan favorite. You get. Now you have to settle into everyday life without rugby. Yeah, without on-field visibility. Yeah. So I like how this guy says it. This sophisticated fruit. Alisema, you see what's interesting? You're still going to go for the parties. You're still going to go for sherehe. Yeah? Sherehe itashika. But it's going to come with a toll. Yeah? The fact that you're not on the field these days means you're probably losing out on friends. Yeah? You're missing the good old days. That's a whole other level of stress. Your brand, your identity is no longer the same. You don't even know who you are, manze. Yeah. And then you don't have enough income. You don't have enough money, a stable income to even start a family. Yeah. So it's very sad. Some other things that this guy talks about is the feedback now. How people usually talk about you. Yeah. Mr. Has-been. Yeah, you were the guy who used to play at Impala. When you those are your stories these days. Hey, you guys, remember bana? 08. You guy bana. Tulikuwa na kina Murushu ko hivyo KCB. Sijui nene. So you're the story for you're the one who always brings stories to the table. And then now you guys, you're looking at your friends. You guys are checking in with Benzos bana and VXs and Nini and the Land Rover Defender. That's a favorite for the rugby guys. Yeah, but so you guys bana, bro. Yeah, the only thing you have is stories. You didn't make anything out of your life after rugby. Yeah? And it's stressful. You're thinking, damn, hata kuna haja you guys now I go to RFU. Because if I go to RFU, yeah, the people who knew me back in the day are going to notice me. I don't want that. It's so embarrassing. I don't even have time for, telling stories about how it's due, whatever, how my life sucks. So, man, this story, Yani, it's very sad. And I empathize with many athletes who are going through post-retirement depression. I really think you need to get some help. Find people who you can converse with, yeah, as opposed to resorting to just alcohol and drugs. Yeah. At the same time, regardless of whatever people say about you, yeah, as if it was huyu alikuanga mzito ni pombe ndo ilimtoa game, yeah, siku hizi ni tu mse wa madem you're going to have to shut out the noise, all these rumors that you hear people talking about you on the internet. You're going to have to ignore those things. Listen, I know it's not easy to actually start afresh and to redefine yourself and to rebrand yourself, but I think it's actually possible. People have done it. One of the things that I've learned about life, especially post-sports, my post-rugby experience, is I had to... Your life in itself ends up being like a book. That chapter has to be closed. Yeah? that chapter of yours that you were a hero in your sports team, you have to move on from it. You have to move on from it. And I know it's not easy. Yeah, it's not easy for many folks out there. And I like how sophisticated fruit wrapped up also. A stark reminder during this Mental Health Awareness Month. Let's be our brothers and sisters keepers. It does not end at the final whistle. Life goes on and the sport keeps moving. But it's the human being that remains. I love it. There's more to you than just rugby. There's more to you than just sports. There's more to you than what was in the past, right? For me, it took a very long time for me to accept the fact that I'll never play rugby again because I got a crazy injury, right? I remember my cousins, who I still love. Yeah, I co-signed with these guys a lot of the times because, they kind of they used to diss me. I remember those, okay, it was fun and everything, but I'm like, will these people ever accept that I've moved on from rugby? And these things used to haunt me because I was that guy who was, you're the husband, Mr. Husband, yeah? And so now I had to start building a life. I had to start following my hobbies and, developing an interest in it. Good thing I found what I love to do, and that's radio, right? I mean, this is not what life is all about only. There's many other things that I love to do. So I just know at some point, because even now how I'm treating this whole radio experience to me, yeah, it's like a sport. It's like rugby. At some point, I know very well I'm going to have to move on from radio. And I'm going to have to redefine my life again. And that's beautiful. And it's an amazing process. Yeah? But if you keep on holding on to things that you loved, those same things are going to eat you dry. They'll eat you like a cancer, manze. Yeah? And then you're going to struggle to move on. You won't even remember. Let me tell you, you won't even remember the essence of who you really are. Yeah? You know who you really are even before you started playing rugby, before you started being an athlete. Yeah? That's the person you're supposed to remember. Yeah? That's the person who's supposed to inspire you to get out there and keep on being curious about life, shaking more hands, meeting up with people, developing new talents. I think it's very possible. But as I wrap up, post-sports retirement depression is something that needs to be discussed. You remember whatever happened to, I was going to say Congestina. Okay, hers was a bit different. I know it was due, because boxing, Bana, this whole thing of punching the head, it affects the brain, yeah? There's a medical term to a condition like that. But there are many athletes out here that if you have conversations with them, and I know these things have been said out loud on the internet, yeah, for example, on social media, like I remember I saw a story of Denis Oliech the other day, yeah? Just understand, most athletes don't know what to do with their lives, especially if they were big time. They don't know what to do once the sport has died out, once they've retired. Like, it takes so much, yeah? It takes a lot for them to actually redefine themselves and understand that they can still offer value to this country. They can still be resourceful. You get. However, the only thing I know for a fact is that sports really builds character. You get. Sports. If you're a parent right now, you've got a bunch of little kids, yeah? Please get them to play sports. It's the biggest thing any will ever do for these kids. Trust me, like, sports, like I said, it teaches you how to work with a team, yeah? It teaches you group dynamics. And then another thing it's going to teach you is that you're not the best. There's somebody out there who's better than you. Probably they're a harder runner. Yeah, they're physically bigger than you. They're stronger than you. But that doesn't mean you guys can't work in a team. Yeah,